Welcome to Science A+. This episode is on human respiratory system. Check out our channel for more biology videos and don't forget to subscribe us. In this video lesson, first we are going to describe the anatomy of the respiratory system. In that, we are going to learn the parts of the human respiratory system. Then we move on to the physiology, where we learn about the functions of the respiratory system. The final step is to learn the process of respiration. Let's move on. The nature around you is a miracle created by our Mother Earth. The survival of every organism is dependent on nature. So, what makes the Earth so special? The Earth is the only planet where life is found. This is mainly because the atmosphere around the Earth contains oxygen, and this is not seen in any other planets in our solar system. All the human beings need oxygen for breathing. Without oxygen, humans cannot survive on the Earth. So it is obvious that oxygen is a major contributor for the consistence of life on Earth. Not only the human beings, but also the aquatic organisms need oxygen for their survival. Aquatic organisms get oxygen that is dissolved in water. They breathe under the water and take oxygen into their circulation. Plants also need oxygen for respiration, but they do not show any breathing movements like animals. We will discuss what respiration is in a few minutes. Let's talk about the specific body system that is adapted for respiration, and that is the human respiratory system. Human respiratory system is a system that is involved in transporting oxygen into lungs as well as releasing gaseous waste like carbon dioxide out of the respiratory system. Simply it means taking oxygen in and eliminating carbon dioxide from our body. This is because our body needs oxygen and the body needs to eliminate carbon dioxide. Here you can see a diagram of the human respiratory system. We can see nasal cavity, pharynx and larynx. And there is a pair of lungs. Air entering into the nasal cavity passes through pharynx and larynx, finally entering into the trachea. Trachea is a long tube, and trachea ends up as left and right bronchus. Each bronchus enters into its distinct lung. Bronchus inside the lung further divide into bronchioles. Fine branches of bronchioles end up in sacs of air known as alveoli. We discuss alveoli in the next sections of this lesson. Let's learn about each part of the human respiratory system in detail. Nasal cavity is the external opening of human respiratory system. The internal surface of nasal cavity is covered with mucus, and there are numerous cilia present on the lining of the nasal cavity. What is the use of cilia and mucus? Well, the inhaled air contains bacteria and dust particles. The mucus acts as a protector of the respiratory system. The bacteria and the dust particles in the air stick on to the mucus. And what is the function of cilia? Well, cilia acts in a rhythmic movement to throw away this mucus and the harmful bacteria and the dust particles away from the respiratory system so that the lungs are protected. This is what happens to the inhaled air in the nasal cavity. Moisturizing and humidifying of inhaled air occurs in the nasal cavity. Warming up of inhaled air up to body temperature also happens there. And the foreign matter is removed from the inhaled air, just like we discussed before. The next part is the pharynx. Pharynx is a common passage for both respiratory tract and the digestive tract. Air from pharynx enters into larynx and then into trachea. Trachea divides into bronchus, the left bronchus and the right bronchus. Bronchus further divides as bronchioles. This diagram shows a simplified structure of how bronchus and bronchioles divide. These tubular structures have cartilage rings to provide rigidity and to avoid collapsing. The lungs are a major part in human respiratory system. Both lungs and the heart are found in the thoracic cavity of the human body. Left lung is specifically curved inside in order to accommodate the heart. Lungs have a sponge-like structure, and when the air enters into them, they act like balloons. In the thoracic cavity, lungs are protected by ribs, and intercostal muscles are seen between the ribs. In the thoracic cavity, the ribs altogether form a rib cage. This rib cage is connected to the vertebra at the back and to the sternum in the front. The lowermost ribs are floating ribs and they are not attached to the rib cage. You can see alveoli, which is a specific part in the respiratory system. The bronchioles we discussed before divide into a branch of networks. We call them primary bronchioles, secondary bronchioles, and then in the last step as tertiary bronchioles. Tertiary bronchioles are the finer ones. These end up in the alveoli. Alveoli are sac-like structures, just like shown in the photo. Alveoli is the place where gas exchange occurs, so it is the respiratory surface of the human beings. Take a closer look at the alveoli. There are several blood capillaries around each alveoli. This enhances the gas exchange. This diagram shows the function of alveoli. Alveoli acts as the respiratory surface of human beings. The respiratory surface is the place where gas exchange takes place between the external environment and the blood. Let's learn the characteristics of a respiratory surface. There are adaptations of the respiratory surface for efficient gas exchange. There, the surface should be moistened and permeable for gases. And for the diffusion of gases, the surface should be thin, and large surface area is needed for an efficient gas exchange. For the optimum gas exchange, the surface needs to be highly vascularized. That means there should be a lot of blood vessels in the respiratory surface. Here's a flowchart showing what happens to the inhaled air in our human body. Go through this chart and it would be easier for you to remember the process efficiently. Let's focus on the process of respiration in human beings. There are 3 stages of human respiration. The first one is the gas exchange between the external environment and the lungs. The second stage is the gas exchange in the alveoli. And the final stage is the cellular respiration. That takes place inside the cells. In this video, we are going to discuss only the first 2, and for cellular respiration, we will come again with another video. This is the first stage of human respiration. It is the gas exchange between external environment and the lungs. This process consists of inspiration and expiration. Inspiration means breathing in. That means intake of air into the lungs for respiration. Expiration means breathing out. That means carbon dioxide and water vapor, which are waste products, are eliminated from our body by expiration. Let's talk about how breathing occurs in human body. Intercostal muscles, diaphragm, and ribs work in hand for this process. The thoracic cavity and the lungs expand and contract in respiration. This is aided by the movements of the muscles. In inspiration, the volume of the thoracic cavity has to be increased. Let's see how it is done. The intercostal muscles and the diaphragm contracts. With this movement, the ribs move up and the sternum moves forward. All these movements altogether creates an increased volume in the thoracic cavity and the lungs. This results in a reduced pressure inside the lungs compared to the outer environment. This pressure gradient creates an airflow into the lungs, and this is the basis of inspiration. When the chest is fully expanded, the intercostal muscles are contracted, ribs are moved up and sternum is moved forward, and the diaphragm is flat. That is because of its contraction of the muscles. When the muscles of the diaphragm contract, the curvature of the diaphragm is reduced and diaphragm lays in a flat position, increasing the volume of the thoracic cavity and the lungs. The next step of respiration is the expiration. It is where gas inside the lungs move out of the body through the trachea and then through the nasal cavity. In this process, the intercostal muscles relax and the diaphragm also relaxes, moving back to its curved position. The sternum and the ribs move to their original position. With expiration, the volume of the thoracic cavity and the lungs decrease. This results in an increased pressure inside the lungs compared to the outer environment. This pressure gradient helps the expiration of air from the body towards the outer environment. The second stage of respiration is the gas exchange that takes place in the alveoli. Let's revise the structure of the alveoli. Alveoli are the air sacs that are formed by the continuation of the tertiary bronchioles. There are several blood capillaries forming a network around the alveolar sacs. This is how the gas exchange takes place at the respiratory surface, which is the alveoli. The exchange of gases takes place by diffusion. Oxygen concentration in the alveoli is high. CO2 concentration is high in blood capillaries. Diffusion takes place across a gradient of concentration. That means diffusion takes place from high concentration to the low concentration. Let's apply that principle to this respiratory surface. Oxygen has a high concentration inside alveoli, and oxygen concentration in the blood capillaries is low. So, diffusion of oxygen takes place from alveoli into the blood capillaries through the respiratory surface. Let's apply the same principle for carbon dioxide. In the blood capillaries, there's a high concentration of carbon dioxide. Compared to blood capillaries, the alveoli have a relatively low concentration of carbon dioxide. So, the diffusion takes place again from the high concentration to the low concentration. So, in this instance, carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood capillaries into the alveoli. That is for expiration. This is how respiration takes place in the alveolar surface. Hope you have enjoyed and learned something new today with our video, and don't forget to subscribe our channel to see more videos like this, and don't forget to share and like this video, and put a comment below in the comment section to know how you feel about this video. If you wish to support our channel and get a printable PDF note, check out our Patreon page. If you wish to read more science related articles, check out our website scienceaplus.com. Thank you.